What music they make.
Metal. Global.
Sejam bem-vindos a mais um podcast de Metal Global. Hoje a conversa é com Devin Townsend, ele que irá contar tudo sobre a novidade de Moth. Antes da conversa com Devin Townsend, não quero mais lembrar que tem a versão rádio deste podcast, em exclusivo na RTP Play. É passar por lá e procurar por Metal Global. Entretanto, se tiverem dúvidas ou sugestões, podem me enviar um e-mail, jorge.botas@rtp.pt, e podem visitar o site metalglobal.pt. Ora bem, vamos falar então de Devin Townsend. O genial e imprevisível Devin Townsend está de volta já no próximo dia 29 de maio com o seu novíssimo trabalho, The Moth. E a história por trás deste álbum é digna de um filme. Tudo começou há cerca de 6 anos, em Amesterdão, quando o diretor da orquestra e coro do Norte dos Países Baixos desafiou o músico canadiano a dar uma roupagem sinfónica aos seus clássicos. A resposta de Townsend, imediata e ambiciosa. Se era para ter uma orquestra inteira à sua disposição, seria para dar vida a uma obra completamente original que já o perseguia há anos. O processo não foi fácil e o mestre chegou a pensar em desistir, mas a união desta equipa inacreditável fez a magia acontecer. Estamos a falar de um verdadeiro exército de talento que, junto aos arranjos de Joseph Stevenson e Niels Bye Nielsen, aos suspeitos do costume, Darby Todd, Mike Keneally e James Leach. E como se não bastasse, o disco conta ainda com convidados de luxo como Steve Vai e Anneke van Giersbergen. A capa foi da autoria de Travis Smith e Eliran Kantor e este álbum promete ser monumental. Para contar tudo sobre a novidade de Moth, a conversa é com Devin Townsend.
Sir, can you hear me?
I can hear you and I can see you. How are you, Devin?
I'm good, man. How's your Yoda?
Yoda is great. He's always good. I wish I was as, zen as he is.
Yeah, well, I think that you're not alone with that, and I would almost argue that 2026 is not the year for that particular frame of mind.
Well, definitely it isn't. But anyway, let's talk about the Moth. And, this is a huge undertaking as a project for you.
Yeah.
10 years when the idea kind of started, 6 years when you really started the bulk of the composition.
Yeah.
What was the idea, the spark for the Moth?
I think that the Moth started in the exact same way that every other record starts for me, and that is very unremarkable. Like I have a notebook. I have everywhere here. There's just notes everywhere, right? Like there's notes here, there's notes here, there's notes. Everywhere there's notes, and so basically I just have notepads everywhere and pencils everywhere. And whenever I have an idea, I just write it down and then promptly forget about it. I wrote something down this morning that I thought, oh, that's a cool idea. That might not come together for another decade, right? But Moth started exactly the same way. I was like, oh, it's called the Moth. It's an orchestra. It has something to do with sex. It's very dark. It has a big scale to it. The ending is very subtle, and it's going to be a lot of work, and it's going to be very expensive. And I remember just writing that down and then being like, okay, so we'll put that one aside. And then it wasn't until 6 or maybe 4 years later, maybe even, I don't even remember now, but I played a show in Amsterdam, an acoustic show, and the North Netherlands National Orchestra and Choir band leader came to the show to offer the opportunity for this amazing orchestra to interpret music from my past. But I sort of saw this as an opportunity to present the Moth, and so I just asked him, I was like, would you be willing to do something new instead? And they were a little, they're like, well, I don't know if you guys are going to be able to pull this off. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, I don't know either. But outwardly, I was like, oh, we're going to be able to do this for sure. And then after a couple of days, they said, yes, here's the parameters. You deliver the scores by this point, you deliver the vocal scores by this point, and then we can pull it off, right? And then from there, I remember when that finally was confirmed, my first thought was not joy. My first thought was just like, uh-oh.
Now you have to do that. Now you have to do that.
Well, now we're talking about it, right?
When you started, when the orchestra agreed and everybody was on the same page, so to say, and you started the songwriting, did you already have that opera-like style in mind? When I mean it because it's not like a traditional rock record where every song is individual. Everything on this is interlinked. There's a connect. You already had that frame of mind going.
Oh, yeah. Essentially, from the beginning, I wanted to make a movie, but I can't afford to make a movie, so I'll just make the soundtrack for it, right? And then but I kind of went into it from the point of view of almost like a audio cinema. So you put the headphones on, and then you just kind of are in this environment, right? So we tried to really make the work, so it's kind of wherever you listen, it's just you can just keep going, like it's deep, right? And the effect of it was meant to be something that you don't necessarily listen to a song at a time. It's supposed to be an experience, right? But that being said, at no point ever during the process did I think it was important. It's not like I was making like, oh, it's an audio cinema and just you wait till you hear it, all this shit. I'm just kind of like, yeah, this is what I want to do, so I'm going to do it. And then when it's right, I'll finish and move on to the next one. And so when people are saying, I did an interview with a guy recently, and he said, do you really expect people to listen to this whole thing? And I was like, no way. Absolutely not. But if you want to, put a ton of effort into it, and it's complete. So it's a combination of like, I put my heart and soul into everything I do, yet simultaneously I know it's ridiculous. So, it's like you just have to kind of live with that, I think.
Yeah. And it's obviously, an opera, a classic opera, it's not for anyone's or for everyone's ears. Not everybody is willing to sit and appreciate the whole story and the whole thing. Very few. But if it's well done, I appreciate with the Moth, for me, it's like, there's a story. So I'm not going to stop until it's freaking finished. Otherwise, it makes no sense to start and not finish it.
Well, you're one of the few, and I appreciate it. But at the same time, it's, I had another person ask me recently, just like, what would you say to somebody who doesn't want to listen to this? And I'm like, why would I say anything? Like, why would I care if somebody doesn't want to listen to it? It makes no difference to me. The only reason why it's important, the audience that I have, it's important to me that I do a good job for them, but for people who don't care, fuck them, man. And then also, when it comes to my own connection to the work, it's the artwork for the Moth is as basic as it gets. It's just black and white with a picture of my face on it. And also somebody else is like, well, isn't there a story? And I was like, absolutely there's a story. I spent a year writing the story with a bunch of people. Are there characters? Absolutely. There's a protagonist, an antagonist, and all this stuff. And they're like, well, why didn't you include it? And I was like, because who fucking cares? Like, I use the narrative and I use the story aspects of the work, not to make like Operation Mindcrime or Pink Floyd or anything. It's more just, it acts as a reference point so that when I can fill in the blanks with musical dynamics, they follow like an emotional arc that's reasonably easy for people to understand. Like, the story for the Moth is based on the hero's journey, which is the same sort of story arc as Star Wars or Matrix or any of these things. So it's not, this is obvious stuff. And so when I was doing that, we made a chart that said, okay, this is this part. This is part 10 of the hero's journey. It's part 4 of the hero's journey. Part 4 maybe is like a fantasy sound. Part 10 is maybe a war sound. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So with that, I'm able to say, okay, now I need to write war music. Okay, now I need to write, like contemplative music, and it just acts as a reference point for me. That being said, if at some point the Moth becomes this huge international hit, then I have a story if we need, but I have no desire to make anybody's life more complicated. So until such time, enjoy.
Probably, it might be one of those records that might take 20 years, 30 years, 40 years for people to truly appreciate. Maybe. But maybe can be, within a year time, people will say, masterpiece.
Or never. Or never. And they just say it's bullshit from here to the end of time. I think that it's like, again, my connection to those sorts of things are I mean, you never want people to hate your work. You don't want to do things that people are just like, this sucks unequivocally. So my internal sense of whether or not a project is finished is the only one that I can trust. Like, I can't put out something and be like, I think this is okay. I have to be like, I know that this is okay. I know that this is what I wanted to say. And I know it does for me exactly what I set out to do. There you go. So if people don't like it, it doesn't mean that it's wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, yeah.
It's
but again, dude, I'm not holding my breath for anything.
And, throughout this process, because, as I said, it's a huge undertaking, it's complexity, like recording orchestral parts, writing the story, having those characters and all that. Was there any times throughout this process where you thought, like, what the hell am I doing? Why am I doing this?
Every day. And I still feel that way. In fact, I probably feel that way more now that it's finished than I did before. That kind of existential quandary is a foundation of the work that I do. So, the why the hell am I here? Why the hell am I doing this? This is not limited to the Moth. This is also limited to relationships and getting out of bed in the morning and going on tour and, you know what I mean? All life, for me, provokes typically these kind of existential questions. So, yeah, man, of course the Moth is about that, but so is every other record and every other day.
The inner saboteur, it's still very much alive within you.
Yeah, but I also feel that the saboteur is being held on a leash by the part of me that is stronger than that.
Yeah.
Like, my capacity to work through problems and to solve problems is greater than my capacity to sabotage myself. So it's always a fight, but the winner is the victor. To the victor goes the spoils.
Yeah. And we get this amazing art. And some guests on this record, Steve Vai, you got Anneke. It's easy, just for you, it's just like you call them, listen, I have this. Yeah. And what do you think about it? You want to be part of it? It's that simple normally.
Yeah, it's not that simple for a lot of people, I guess. But I also feel that, all these people I've grown up with, right? So I've known Steve since I was a kid, and I've known Annie for 20 years. I mean, it's like more than that. So I think that I'm fortunate. From the outside, I'm sure it looks like, it's very flippant. Like, oh, I'll just get this person. I'll just get this person. But really, it's a little bit more thought out than that. And in the way that it was thought out with the Moth was more practical. By that, I mean, the logistical challenges for the Moth were just so fucking extensive, man. Like, every day, there's just problems, money, problem. You know what I mean? So when it came time to getting other singers and collaborators, I just phoned people that were no drama. I was just like, would you please help? And they're like, all right, yeah. So, you know what I mean? So the only new people that I worked with, Lynn, she's from Beijing, and she's in a band called O. and she sang. She played the role of the muse on the record, but that was also fairly straightforward for me because we communicated through Google Translate, like not. We don't speak the same language, right? Like I don't speak Mandarin, she doesn't speak English, so we'd come into these scenarios where I'd be like, oh fuck, and I have to write it all down in English and then translate it and show it to her, and she'd be like, all right, and she'd have to write it in Mandarin and then show it to me. But so that was, it's the potential for things getting confused was more funny than it was practical, right? So I chose these people based on the fact that I trust them to do a good job and that I already had enough stress, so I didn't want any more.
But it's always good to have, like, right on the phone, people that you can trust without all the drama. There's already enough on a day-to-day basis.
Oh my God!
And sometimes you just need someone that will say, "Of course, let's do it."
Yeah, absolutely. And someone who's not a diva. Somebody that doesn't, like man or woman, someone that doesn't come in and be like, listen, I can't play the solo unless I've got my special pants or something. You're just like, oh my God, just fuck off, man. So it's like, I think that unlike the 80s and even the 90s, the music industry is very, it's gotten very blue collar, I think. It's like, there's a real aspect of if you want to achieve something, specifically something as strange as the Moth, man, you have to do it yourself.
Yeah.
It's not like you're going to be served appetizers while you're, somebody else is doing the work for you. It's like, no, if we're going to do this weird thing, I've got to get in there and get my hands dirty. And so I look for team members that are also not afraid to get dirty, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that situation about divas, even like in the music industry, you have so many. And for me as a music fan, not as a journalist, but as a music fan, when I want to interview someone, there are only a few artists that we want the interviews the questions in advance. And there is an artist, which I shall not name, that needed my CV first. And I'm like, what? My CV?
What echelon were they in? Were they very popular? Or?
Yeah. It's an arena band.
Okay.
They are.
Well, I mean, to a certain degree, and I mean, I don't mean to play devil's advocate here, but to a certain degree, I think when you're rolling at that particular echelon, you're probably going to want to vet all the interviews that you do, and asking for a CV, I think, probably would be appropriate in that scenario, because I know for myself that unless I put parameters on the interviews, I'll have interviews for 6 months.
Yeah.
And like I had a promo agent at one point, and he took fucking everything. So it's like 6 months in, I'm doing, Crazy Ronald's Metal Hour or something, and he's got like 4 subscribers, and I'm just like going, oh my God, this is an hour? Like, it's insane, right? And that's at my level, let alone, where these people are at. So. Yeah. But when you ended up talking to him, was he cool or was he not?
No, it was fine. As soon as that barrier was broken, everything was fine. So it's like, and I understand. It's like I'm not. I just say, like, sometimes it's, I do this like for it's almost 30 years now, and sometimes after so long, still when you go for for a promoter or something and ask, and they say, but tell me a bit more the numbers, your career. I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ! Like I do this for 30 years. What do you want?
Yeah, you're like, oh yeah, you want to hear the numbers? 30 years. No, I get that, but I also feel it's the same for me as well. Like, dude, I've been professionally doing this for 38, I guess, and every now and then it's like you'll have some scenario where somebody will ask something from you, or they'll like put parameters, and I'm just like, get fucked. And they're like, oh yeah, but if you do this, and if you play this game, and if you like are polite to this person, and I'm like, dude, I don't need anybody. The only thing I need is the audience, And so, if somebody else, with like wants to look at me with condescending eyes and talk to me like I'm a fucking idiot. Like, dude, I got much better things to do, right? Like,
And, with this record, one expectation that fans will have is to see it play from start to finish, probably in a special venue. Are you thinking about it? I mean, the score is done, so you just...
I already did it. I did it twice in Groningen. So if you look online, there's a live stream of this,
okay,
the whole record. And it was before the record was even finished. I just did it so I could record the orchestra. And moving forward, would I do it live? I mean, if the audience wants it. But it's super expensive to do this thing, to get the orchestras and the choirs and get the scores printed. It's like so expensive. So I'm in no rush to do it unless the audience is like, would you do it?
Yeah.
And in that case, I would be like, yeah, of course. But I like you, like I have zero need nor desire to try and convince people of what I do. It's like if someone's like, convince me to listen to your music, I'm like, no. Man, like, dude, like again, maybe we're just getting older, brother, but my patience for those things is just like, I'm like, oh, bye.
The best lesson I had was with my nephew when I tried to make him listen to stuff that I enjoy. He didn't give a crap about it. Nothing. Yeah. It was like it was like a humble experience for me.
Oh, dude.
Since that day, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to show anything else to anyone. If they want to come to me, it's fine. If they don't, it's fine as well.
I relate. None of my family listens to anything that I do, ever. They don't watch it. They don't read it. They don't listen to it. Nothing. I'll be like, hey, I finished this project. They're like, okay. And again, it's like very humbling because you'll be like, we're doing this thing and it's like, it seems like it's really cool and we spent all this time and resource on this thing and it's my heart and I'd love to be able to explain it to everybody. And they're just like, oh yeah, did you see on special today or apples down at the store? And I'm like, yeah, I did actually. But I think that sort of reference, whether or not it's your nephew or it's, family, the humility of that, I think, is really productive with the work, too.
Yeah.
Because then you're not writing from the point of view of just like everything I do is amazing. Yeah. You're writing it from the point of view of like, does this work for me? Nobody else is going to listen to it, so it's got to work for me, right?
And the family normally, when you force them to kind of listen to you, there's a time they'll just say, yeah, that's good, cool. Yeah, it's very nice. And they just want to get rid of you.
I remember one of my favorite quotes ever was, if you ever think you're enlightened, go spend a week with your family.
Yeah, it's true. Anyway, and after this record done, do you feel musically? Do you feel the need of thinking about more music now? Go to a heavier route? I don't know. But do you feel like after a different kind of record, do you feel that you need to make something different, or this experience kind of made you want to explore a bit further this type of music?
I gotta tell you, brother, the only time I ever think about why and how I do music is when I'm doing interviews. Like, and I always have to make shit up, right? Like when people are asking me questions, I'm like, once upon a time. And it's only because my creative process is so steeply rooted in intuition. Like I don't ever think about what I do. The only times I do think about it is when I feel conflicted about the energy that's coming out of the speakers, where I think, is this what you want to represent right now? Not is this in you, because clearly it is, but there's a certain degree of accountability that I think is really important, and I do think about that. And from that vantage point, how I think about it is like, can I back this? Is this something I can explain? Is this something I can rationalize? So many times throughout my career, so many times people are like, oh, this is crazy. What you're writing is crazy. And I'm like, okay, tell me why it's crazy. And then my hope is that if I'm given the opportunity, I can rationalize it as it's creative freedom.
Yeah.
And in an environment where creative freedom is so like not encouraged, like it seems like at this point in history, like music in general is like, because it's so hard to sell, it's like you do this or you do this, or you're this type of artist or whatever. So when I choose to do things that are creatively wherever my intuition leads me, oftentimes people interpret that as like, oh, that's crazy. But for me, I'm just like, okay, that's your opinion, it's cool. But as long as I can rationalize it, as long as I can explain it, as long as I can kind of reverse engineer it so that the intent of that is able to be explained to people from the original vantage point, which is that of trying to help, not to make things worse. Yeah. That's the only criteria. So when it comes to what the next record is, basically the process is every morning I wake up and I write. Not every morning, like sometimes there's other things to do, but a lot of the times when I have the opportunity, I wake up and I write. But I write the first thing that I think, with the first name that I think of, with the first, and I don't, if some days it's pop, some days it's orchestral, some days it's metal, some days it's ambient. I don't think about it. And then as soon as I'm done, I put it into a folder and forget about it. And then the next day I write something else over and over and over. And then by the end of a period of time, I'll have hundreds of things. And then I go through and I'm like, of those things, which one seems the most compelling? And so I follow my interest at that point. And my interest, more to your question, typically is the opposite of whatever the last thing was. So if the last thing was complicated, the next thing is simple. If the last thing was simple, then it's complicated. Yeah. If the last thing was quiet, the next one's heavy. If the last one was heavy, the next one's quiet. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's not a conscious, like, you know what I'm going to do next is I'm going to do a quiet record. No, I'm just like, man, I'm fucking sick of listening to this shit. What am I going to listen to now? Oh, that's nice. Yeah. And then I follow that until I get sick of that. So maybe my whole process is just working on things until I get sick of them and then moving to the next one.
You know, as I said, I work in radio, and, you know, I used to play guitar badly, but used to play. And, you know, if I spent the day listening like to pop music, because our radio was, you know, pop rock, but if that day was more pop music, when I got home and played the guitar, would be heavier stuff. And it would be the other way around. If I had a day listening to a lot of heavy metal, when I got home, it would be acoustic stuff.
You see, that's interesting, because my listening is actually the opposite to you. If I listen to a lot of pop stuff, that's usually when I write pop stuff. If I listen to a lot of metal stuff, that's usually when I write metal stuff. I'm only offended by my own work.
And you were talking about creative freedom, but you think in this day and age, you know, with social media and, you know, the way the music industry is, because it's not what it used to be back in the 80s or 90s, do you think it's more open to creative freedom or not?
I think it's open to it, but the problem is getting it heard. In order to get anything heard right now, it's like I hear these people being like, oh, you don't need a record label in this day and age. I'm like, that's not true, man. You need a team. Yeah. You need a social media team. You need a label. You need management. You need all these things. You don't need them. Let me just be clear. But if you're like me and you're making weird-ass music, you have to have people that are putting it out there for you. Yeah. Otherwise, it'll get lost. There's like thousands of records that are released each day. So creative freedom, I believe nowadays, isn't discouraged, but unless you've got manpower to put it in front of people and to have it heard, it'll be lost. And so I think and then of course, in order to have manpower, they need to get paid. Yeah. So it's this, you know, the creative freedom now, it maybe just costs more.
And, you know, you being from Canada, I just want to touch a bit of a couple of subjects. Rush coming back, and also the new phenomenon, angine de poitrine. Let's start with the last one, because they just exploded like crazy. How do you see this phenomenon of a band that all of a sudden is all over social media?
It just makes me crazy because it's the mask thing. It just it's like he's got a big polka dot nose, and so everybody really likes it. I mean, music's really cool, right? But I think that okay. First off, I haven't listened to it enough to give an accurate musical assessment of it. But because of the image, I find that very difficult. For me, it's difficult because I just think image in general is just really. I got to choose my words properly here.
The problem is like if it's just a gimmick, and it's not.
I mean, not to say that they're not cool.
Yeah.
But would they have that same attention if they weren't wearing big clown noses? I mean, it's like I should listen to them. I had so many people send them to me at the same time that I just refused to listen to it. So my perspective on it is only that I've been irritated by it so far. But there's people in my life who are close to me who say it's very good. So please take my assessment of it with a grain of salt.
Yeah. And how do you see Rush coming back? You know, I as a Rush fan, you know, obviously I'm torn, but I'm happy to see them back on stage.
Well, I just recently listened to Geddy Lee's audiobook, and I don't know if you had a chance to listen to that.
No, not yet, no.
Very good, very good. It was a lot about his family and the war and all this, and he's got a very kind of like friendly and gentle delivery, right? So it's an easy listen when you're mowing the lawn. How do I feel about them coming back? I mean, I love the fact that they got Anneke, I guess that's her name, playing drums. I love that. Because even within our little genre, there's all this chest pounding about who would get the gig. Yeah. Everyone's like, well, that guy would get the gig for sure. And that guy, he can do it perfect and all this stuff. And so when they chose somebody that was completely out of that realm, I just felt like, oh, that's fucking funny. That's amazing. And the fact that she can do it really well, too, is like even better. But it was like, I like that decision that they made. I think that they seem like kind-hearted people. Yeah. And I like Rush. I never was like obsessed with them, but I like them. And so I can relate to the fact that even being off the road for a year, you can't tour for your entire fucking life and then just be home and expect your brain to cooperate. Yeah. You know? And that's for someone in my position, let alone Rush, right? So I can't imagine that Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson at some point were just like, get me the fuck out of Toronto or wherever they are, right?
And, you know, for me, and just really quickly, one of the funniest things that I read was the same what happened with Iron Maiden when Nico left and they got Simon, was the size of the drum kit. And I'm like, what does that have to do with fucking anything?
Well, I mean, I agree with you. I think maybe if we're asking, I think maybe people are just so, not people, me too, right? Like, if I find myself emotionally connected to a band, it's that period of time where I was emotionally connected to them that is why I'm like, what's an example of a band for me? Like, we could even use Metallica. I remember when I first got into Metallica, it was right after Kill 'Em All, so Ride the Lightning. And so the aesthetic in my mind of what made Metallica was like the sound of James Hetfield's voice back then. He was like, rah! You know, and like the intro to Ride the Lightning, and it was like, and I loved it. I loved the Cliff Burton thing. I loved it. Does that mean that what they're doing now isn't good? No. I went and saw them in Nashville recently, and it was fantastic. You know, they're a fantastic band. But do I prefer this version of the band to the one that I fell in love with? No. And so I'm sure that people who fell in love with Rush when Neil Peart had like a 7,000-piece kit are probably looking at the new drummer and being like, that's not Rush, you know?
And just to wrap it up, you announced a European tour for September, I think, September, October. Yeah. No Spain, no Portugal. Can we expect a second?
I would love to. However, I will be spending a month in Altea, and I'll be in Porto as well because I got friends in both those places. Okay. So maybe, and we did have some shows in both, but the routing got fucked up, so we had to pull them. The next time, absolutely. And yeah, maybe when I'm there hanging out with my friends, I'll play a show. No, I won't.
No. People will start already looking for, where he's going to be.
Yeah, totally. He's going to be on the beach, man.
Yeah. Devin, thank you very much for your time. All the best for the Moth.
You too, buddy.
It's an album to listen from start to finish. I encourage people to do that. And I'm sure your fans will do that. I'm not going to convince my nephew to listen to it. I gave up on that. But I did listen to it from start to finish, and I will listen to it again. It's a great piece of work, man. Thank you very much for your time.
You too, brother, and hope to talk to you again soon.
All right. Thank you. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Metal Global foi a conversa com Devin Townsend sobre o álbum The Moth, que chega às lojas no próximo dia 29 de maio através da Inside Out Music, Sony Music Portugal. Conversa sempre interessante com Devin Townsend. Não quero mais lembrar, tem a versão rádio exclusiva na RTP Play. É passar por lá e procurar por Metal Global. E assim chega ao final deste programa. Mais uma vez, dúvidas ou sugestões? Envie e-mail jorge.botas@rtp.pt. Visite o site metalglobal.pt e siga-me no Twitter e Instagram em @mountainking. Podem fazer like na página de Facebook do Metal Global e se estão a ouvir esta versão em Apple Podcasts, Spotify ou YouTube Music, subscrevam para não perder nenhum episódio. Eu volto no próximo programa. Um forte abraço.
Children of the night, you will live through the centuries to come, as I have lived. Good night.